Hello and welcome to another video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout. My name is Joe and today I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout Deputy Editor Tom Freeman, who will be revealing his Game Week 11 team. We will also look at fixtures and why this could be a good period in the fixture calendar for Manchester United fans looking to get an edge. Welcome, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Joe. Yeah, had a nice week off last week, so obviously skipped the video.
Yep.
But I've come back in. Good game week 10, which we'll have a look at in a
Yeah.
minute. And yeah, so it's all good. You okay?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I didn't enjoy the climbs of South Wales as you did, but nearby in Somerset, where I live. But yeah, both green arrows for both of us. You had a much better game week than me, but we both had good game weeks. Both went for Salah as well, but we'll look at that in a sec.
Yeah.
And we'll look at the plans for Game Week 11. And also, we're going to have a look at Manchester United assets because they've got a new manager coming in soon. They've got a lovely little run of 3 fixtures, which look quite good if you want to target the fixtures there. Just a quick plug to the members area. Any stats you see here, season ticker, that type of thing. Is in the members area at Fantasy Football Scout. Do check out fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for latest offers there. Also do press that like button, does help us out, and leave a 4-star review or 5-star review on wherever you receive your podcasts if you're listening to the podcast version. And do remember subscribe so you can keep up to date with all latest videos and podcasts if you're new to us or seeing one of our videos or listening to a podcast for the first time. Let's have a look at your previous game week 10. And I've got a picture of Ange punching the air in excitement because you got 62 points and a game week rank of, I've kept your game week rank in here because it's 284,997, which is absolutely huge. Is that your best game week of the season?
Yeah, I think it is actually.
Yeah.
I haven't got it to hand now, but it feels like I kind of needed a better week because I'd been kind of not really moving anywhere for the previous 2 or 3 game weeks. So this has kind of elevated me up a bit. I'm still not where I want to be, but it's moving in the right direction.
So I think you were you've gone up several 100,000 places.
Yeah.
You're now just on the edge of the top million. I've had 2 or 3 sub 1 million game week ranks. But not a 284. That's a big step. So it's getting 800 or so, 900 or 1,000 or so in a game week is good. But 284, I saw that and immediately thought, wow, that's a good game week. So do you want to just run through your team and any moves you made, who you captained, that type of thing?
Yeah, so 62 points, as you can see. I didn't make any transfers last week. So it was the team as it was before. So we had Sells in goal, who got the clean sheet. I think there was only 3 clean sheets in game week 10. So got one of them. Defence underwhelmed, apart from Sells. I had Porro with 1 point, Gabriel with 2 and Lewis with 1. In midfield, I captained Salah. He got 18 points. Very happy with that. Umbomo with 3 points, Foden with 2 points, and then Rodgers with the goal and 9 points. Went off injured, or what we thought injured, but I'm not sure if you saw the game, Joe, but it looked like he wanted to carry on. So I'm taking that as a positive.
Yeah.
And then up front, it was all about Solanke, really, with 16 points, 2 goals and an assist bonus. Haaland 2 and Raul 2. And then a much weaker bench with Fabianski, Dibbling, Collins and Greaves, and they just got 3 points between them, but that's fine.
Okay. So I mean, the big check. What were your moves then? Because Salah was new in. Who did he come in from?
No, well, Salah came in the week before.
Oh, the week before. Sorry.
So, yeah. Because we didn't do a video last week, so that's fair. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
So it was always going to be Salah or Palmer last week, but I wanted Salah for captaincy, and that was the key kind of drive behind making the move. So no, didn't make any transfers last week. Left it as it was. And that gives me a bit more flexibility next week, or this week, should I say, which we'll come on to in a minute.
Rightio. Okay, yeah. So, no transfers there. So, if you save another transfer this week, I guess that gives you 3 transfers in game week 12.
Correct. Yeah, and there's some big swings coming up. So, That might be useful.
Okay, we'll have a look at that as well. So you've kept Haaland as well. So with I
Yeah.
went for the Salah move. I went for
Mm.
quite a standard move amongst some people, which was a cheap midfielder out. So Semenyo, in my case, out for Salah, and that was funded by Haaland out to Cunha.
Yeah.
And I feel it's like pulling the band-aid off getting rid of Haaland. He's going, he could get a hat trick any week. He could blank any week. I just looked at the 15.4 million.
Yeah.
And I looked at all the other strikers that are doing well. I looked at the captaincy over the next few weeks, and I saw that
Yeah.
Salah was
Well,
good.
that's key, isn't it? So,
Palmer was good, and I just thought I'm going to do it now. If I don't do it now, any week you do it is scary. It's scary when he's at home against Spurs. It's scary when he's away to Brighton. It's scary when he's away to Bournemouth, and you just got to do it if you're going to do it. And then you have to get into a mindset of doing it. So you're not in that mindset because you've still got him. You got him away at Brighton next week, as well as Foden. So that's I hope Brighton do well. But that are you in a mindset to get rid of him at some point, and are you ready
yeah.
to get rid of him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I just haven't had the need to yet. I completely get why you and other managers did that because it got Salah, but he was already in place for me. But I haven't got a problem with selling Haaland because I think when we did one of these captaincy matrix a couple of weeks
Yeah,
ago, Joe, we saw it, and Haaland wasn't the best option for quite a few weeks in a
yeah,
row. So then why have you got this 15 million pound asset
yeah.
in your team? You're not going to captain
No,
him. I think I could sell him in game week 12 because there's a lot of swings, which we've mentioned. Palmer, Saka.
yeah. You'll have 3 transfers maybe. So
Yeah,
that's huge.
exactly.
You want to better spread that money around. So for
Yeah,
example, Haaland out down to let's say for sake of argument, Cunha.
yeah,
So 6.5 million or so. So that's an absolutely huge saving. So that's a
yeah,
do my quick math. So that's £8.5 million. You can just plough 8.5, 9 million or so. You can plough back into midfield. So
yeah.
that's Foden up immediately to Palmer.
Yeah, and Dibbling as well
That's
can
two
go up
million.
to probably even a Saka if I
Yeah,
do that as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So you're changing the structure in a way of your team because you're going with 5 midfielders rather than 4 now. But what I'm also would be doing with that is strengthening the squad as well
yeah,
because I haven't got Dibbling, then I've
yeah,
got 8 good attackers, and I think now is the time we probably want to start to thinking
yeah.
about that heading into the busy schedule, having that extra attacker which you can bring in and react to kind of any suspensions and rests in December. That might be the way to go, I think.
Yeah, that was a point that FPL General made on a video we did with him this week because he's in a similar position, slightly different play. So you've got Dibbling there. He's got Chiwomi, like a non-playing striker at Wolves, which also eats up a Wolves place for him.
Yep.
So he's looking to upgrade him to someone else and get that 8 attackers in exactly the same move as Christmas. I mean, I've already got that move, and it's meant you have to suck up bench points. So
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
Rogers 9 points, that was on my bench. If he'd have come in, then I wouldn't have got Salah because Semenyo would have still been there. So I might have been okay, but I can't rely on captaining Semenyo every week. But yeah, there's those sorts of players. It is handy to get, and I must admit I'm sort of okay with bench points. So when I see a bench
Yeah.
point player, I just think, well, they're just going to go up in price, or I can play them at some point, and you can
Well, that's
rotate a
it.
bit
Yeah.
as well,
Yeah.
and you're gonna get some bench points. But as you said, it's coming up to Christmas. You're going to need that as well. You cannot rely on these
So,
Dibblings and Chiwomis,
no,
or
no.
and we've already got. I mean, you and I have got Greaves, red flag, so you can't even rely on an Ipswich player that might get you an attacking return, might get a clean sheet.
Yeah,
Probably not though.
it's starting to look a bit thin given that Dibbling lost his place as well.
Yeah.
So that is something which will probably be addressed not
Okay.
this week, but next week.
Okay,
So,
let's have a look at the fixtures. So one of the teams I wanted to pay attention was Manchester United here. It's not a move you're going to do, but if you were to make a move, I know you would consider it.
yeah, I don't think I've completely ruled it
No,
out, but at the moment, I think that what we just discussed there is probably slightly ahead.
Okay, so there'll be a lot of. I mean, I'll look at the other teams in a sec, but looking at Manchester United, they're quite low down on this ticker because in game weeks 14 they got Arsenal, then they got Nottingham Forest, who are tough. Great form at the moment, and then they got Man City, so that's tough. But the next three are Leicester at home, Ipswich away, brilliant. Two promoted sides. Then they got Everton at home, which will probably be the first or second game of the new manager. He's coming in after the international break.
Yeah, Ipswich will be the first Premier
Okay, so
League
you've
game.
got two games, new manager, 3-4-3 setup. So you they pretty much only gonna they've in that the centre of that the front three, it's got to be Hoyland. That's probably their only choice. They're going to have Garnacho and Rashford, I would presume, and Fernandez will be in midfield there. So it remains to be seen what his role will be. But
Exactly.
there's a lot of potential there. Great fixtures, new manager, sort of second new manager bounce. They've got an interim manager bounce at the moment. We're seeing it already. And that's why I think this is quite an interesting time for those who are looking to move up the rankings, to think, who shall I get? Well, Bruno Fernandes on penalties for this team could be a good option. Garnacho could be a good option. I think Hoyland, I was trying to tempt FPL General into getting Hoyland because he's looking for a Calvert-Lewin replacement. He's
I don't dislike that.
He didn't dislike it either. So we'll look at Manchester United's stats in a minute for those that want to take that move. Meanwhile, I'll just quickly run through some of the teams at the top and some of the teams at the bottom. So best fixtures from game weeks 11 to 16. I haven't done further, but Wolves are top, Southampton, Fulham, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham, Ipswich. They've got brilliant run. Lots of investment in Wolves are needed, I think. Bournemouth, this is their fixtures turn, so I've got rid of Semenyo just in time, but I have upgraded him to Salah, so I'm okay. But that's basically the only player I would have upgraded him to. Brentford, Brighton, Wolves, Tottenham, Ipswich, West Ham. There's a lot of attacking potential there. Ipswich still got good fixtures. Leif Davis got a goal, so could he get some more? We'll have a look on our goals imminent table this week on the podcast with Mark Joblin to find out. Arsenal, their fixtures improved. They got Chelsea away, then Nottingham Forest at home, which I don't actually think is that good. But then they've got West Ham away. So it's game week 13. I'm looking for a bit more Arsenal. West Ham, Manchester United, Fulham and Everton. Brentford, great fixtures still. Bournemouth at home, Everton, Leicester. Newcastle, their fixtures turn. Isak's maybe on my radar. Nottingham Forest, West Ham, Crystal Palace up next. So Nottingham Forest still a bit tough, but West Ham looks good. They do have Liverpool. They've also got Brentford and Leicester, two teams that can't keep clean sheets really. Brighton's fixtures really improve from game week 12. They've got City next, but then they've got Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham, Leicester, Crystal Palace. Great run. Aston Villa fixtures are very mixed. Liverpool, Crystal Palace, Chelsea, Brentford, Southampton, Nottingham Forest. So I've got Rodgers as my 8th attacker. I'll be deploying him some weeks. I'll be benching him others. Meanwhile, Tottenham's fixtures, although they have Man City in the middle of this, they've got Ipswich at home, Fulham at home, Bournemouth away, Southampton away. Good bunch fixtures. Southampton, Fulham, Nottingham Forest, Everton are at the bottom here, although Everton's fixtures don't really turn until game week 15. Same with Fulham, really. Their fixtures don't really turn until game week 15. So arguably they shouldn't be this low. Southampton are just low in general, and they've got terrible fixtures. So poor four-man fixtures. Liverpool, Chelsea, Villa, Tottenham, Brighton, Wolves. There's going to be no clean sheets there. So what does this tell you about sort of your plans? I guess for you, you're thinking game week 12. I mean, I'm actually thinking game week 13 is a bit more swingy for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking from this week, obviously I haven't got any Wolves in my team. But for me, I'm not looking at them as like a priority because they're not, they haven't won a game this year. They're not particularly reliable. So I am looking at 12, looking at really three teams, Chelsea, Brighton, your team, Joe, because I think that there's potential there during that run, and Arsenal. But I do think, like you say, it's debatable whether the best time to move for them is in 12-13, because Forest have been excellent this year defensively. So I think if you talk, I don't think you'd want to be taking hits for Arsenal players that week. If you can do it for free, fair enough. But those are the ones that I'm keeping in mind. but 13 appeals too. If anybody's got their wild cards left, those are the 2 weeks I'll be looking at, though, 12 or 13.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. I would say, yeah, if you've got a wild card left, that's a great time. We still don't know what this mystery chip is.
No.
We still don't know if the FPL know what the mystery chip is.
No comment.
But there will be a mystery chip, and that could be amazing. It could be rubbish. Who knows? And as you get towards Christmas, you ought to sort of be planning now for getting Christmas, and you can start doing that. Get a good squad together. Okay, let's have a look at some Manchester United stats, because I don't know about you, but I've just forgotten about them. I've just thought Manchester United, they're rubbish at the moment. I don't care about them. But Fernandes just scored a penalty. Garnacho has impressed. Højlund is now back from injury and should be the main striker. They've got a good new manager coming in. Looking at the options here, in terms of minutes per expected goal involvement, Fernandes is the best. That includes penalties, obviously, with that. He's got a goal and an assist in his last 4 game weeks, and his minutes per expected goal involvement every 153 minutes or so. His baseline bonus, great. At every 5 minutes, he's getting a baseline bonus, which is used to calculate the bonus points. And he's had 3 shots on target. These are strong stats. I think if you are looking... So, for example, if Palmer is flagged, but it's just a knock, so I'm sure he's fine. But if he's not, and he's out for a period, I'd be very tempted just to sort of keep that sort of money by getting a player like Fernandes in. I know Palmer's 3 million cheaper. Getting Fernandes in and just having him for 3 weeks while Palmer rests up, and then make sure you got the money to get Palmer back in.
Absolutely, yeah. And we don't know about Palmer yet. I mean, he walked off, but he took a pretty heavy challenge to the knee. And I've seen a couple of rumblings around that he might be out, but from nothing really reputable. So I think it's just one to kind of monitor this week. We'll hear from Maresca later on, obviously. But I think Fernandes out of that group of, well, anybody at United, I think he's clear. I think he's the player that you want. I think I don't think it's ideal that there's a new manager coming in after Leicester, because under Van Nistelrooy, he's playing this quite advanced number 10 role. He's getting a lot of shots off. He's creating a lot of chances in those 2 games that they've had so far. But if Amorim comes in and they're suddenly switching to like a 3-4-3, I think that he's traditionally played. No guarantees he does that, but if he does, then you're going to get Fernandes back in midfield, and he's going to be part of a midfield too. So there's certainly going to be more defensive responsibility for him in that. And then it might be somebody, you might be wanting Garnacho instead, because if he's playing as one of the wingers, Fernandes is a bit deeper creating. So that's why it's a bit of a tricky one. I think it's fine to roll the dice on it, but it wouldn't surprise me if he had a very good game against Leicester and then maybe kind of regresses a little bit over the 2 after that. But Garnacho, I have my doubts about. I always have had my doubts about him when I watch him, because he fluffs a lot of chances. But in FPL terms, he's getting into good positions. 3 really good fixtures, cheap. There's nothing wrong with making a move there.
I mean, last season he was about, it was what Casemiro is now, 4.8. Casemiro is second in this. Created 7 chances. Once again, I mean, you would assume he's sort of vying for one of 2 places, of which another one will be Fernandes. So there'll be a lot of competition. Casemiro aging might not be as nailed on. But Garnacho here, 6.3. So last season, when he was about 4.5 or 5 million or so, he was great in my team. He was the Morgan Rogers. So I could play him, I could bench him, and he was a reliable, steady stream of points. Minutes per expected goal involvement last 4 is every 282 minutes, not as strong. Created 4 chances, but he's had 8 shots on target, which is most of any of the assets here. So he is, at the moment, the best goal threat, and he has got a goal, and his baseline bonus is pretty strong as well. So I think Garnacho is the one I would probably roll the dice on for this one.
I get that, I think. I mean, it's so difficult because Fernandes could play one of those more advanced roles under Amorim. We don't know. And that's why, and if he does, then he's the best option. But it's just so difficult to predict what's going to happen. I would still feel more comfortable with Fernandes in there over a Garnacho. But, you pay for what you get, don't you? He's a couple of million more.
Penalties.
Yeah, exactly. He's got more routes to points, hasn't he? But then Højlund just below that. I mean, I think if you're on the lookout for a striker, his role probably isn't going to change under the manager.
No.
He's going to be that focal point.
Yeah.
Now, there is Xerxes there. Don't be surprised if he comes off at 70,
Yeah.
75 minutes, but I still think that's a decent punt given the appeal of those fixtures.
Yeah, minutes per expected goal involvement, not that good, 286 minutes there, but he has got an assist and he got a goal from his 4 starts, created 4 chances, 3 shots on target. I think he is one for those like FPL Gem. We've got Calvert-Lewin, who's thinking like, who's got good lot of fixtures coming up, similar-ish price. If you've got another spare million on top of that, I'd be tempted, especially if I was a Manchester United fan. And you and I have been playing this game a long time. As soon as the FPL management, crew get wind of a Manchester United doing well, they're so popular globally. They're so entrenched. They've done so well getting a global following. Even though other teams like Man City and Liverpool and Arsenal have done better recent years. That as soon as there's a whiff of a good Manchester United asset, good fixtures, their price goes up. And so I think it could be a little bit of an investment just for a few weeks. Rashford, I mean, God, he used to be such a good FPL asset, but he's gone down to 6.9 now, 6 chances created. Arguably, he's not even worth 6.9. Minutes per expected goal involvement every 316 minutes. I mean, I just don't know what's happened to him. His baseline bonus is amongst the worst in this list. Okay, every 11 minutes, but 3 shots on target. It's not the Rashford of old, really, is it?
No, they're trying him in various positions on each flank, but it's always Garnacho who looks more of the threat when you watch them these days. He's the one getting into the better positions and being released and better running with the ball. So no real reason to look at Rashford. No. I'd want to see even one good game wouldn't convince me. I would want to see a bit of a prolonged run of good form from him.
And Dallo is next on the list, defender. Every minutes per expected goal involvement every 391 minutes, which is okay for a defender. He's created 3 chances. He's had a shot on target. Minutes per baseline bonus very strong at 8.8. But yeah, so I guess if it was a 3-4-3, could he be used as a sort of? I mean, would that involve wing back? Would he play that, or can he play that?
Well, this is the thing. I don't think either Dallo or Mazraoui, who played really well at the weekend in a back 4, I don't think either of them are really suited to this role. And I've seen some journalists who are more in the know than me tactically. I know that they've suggested that Garnacho could even take up one of those wing back roles again, which would kind of blunt his appeal again, though. And that's why it's difficult to move for. It's a bit of a punt, whoever you go for, because you haven't got a clue where these players will be playing when it gets to Ipswich.
Yeah, I mean, do you remember? Victor Moses moved to Chelsea, but when he was at Wigan, so at Wigan he was this winger, like Garnacho. He was a goal-scoring winger, and then he moved to Chelsea, and he became when that really successful Chelsea season.
Oh, he's incredible,
and
he
was one of their wing backs. So he was
Antonio Conte, wasn't it?
And
so transferred him into that.
So he was this wing back. And so you thought, oh no, attacking midfielder, and he's basically playing as a defender. But then I think he got listed as defender, and that was incredible. Yeah. But so it could be that Garnacho ends up as that, and so as I said, it just puts things up in the air. But I just thought it was good to mention it because I imagine some other content creators might as well. But Manchester United have got good. They've got the best run a team can have at the moment. And then it drops off a cliff a bit, but it's a good run at the moment.
Yeah, and if you're a United fan out there, you obviously want their players in your team, and now's probably the time to do it and have a bet. You've got one game with Van Nistelrooy, and then it's Amorim after that. And maybe if your team's in a good place and you've already got Palmer and he isn't injured in there, and you've got Salah in there, maybe you can afford to make one of those luxury moves. So.
Okay, before we round up, just have a look at your next week's team as it is at the moment. So it's possible you mightn't make any changes. So do you want to run through your team and who you're captaining and why?
Yeah, so I've got Sells at home to Newcastle in goal. Porro home against Ipswich. Gabriel at Chelsea and Lewis away at Brighton. In defence, in midfield, I've got Salah at home to Villa, who's my current captain. Mbomo at home to Bournemouth, Foden away at Brighton and Rodgers away at Liverpool. And then up front, I've got Solanke at home to Ipswich, Haaland away at Brighton and Raul away at Palace. And then on the bench, Fabianski, Dibbling, Collins, and Greaves, who is flagged.
Okay. So, yeah, you got the armband on Salah, so I have as well. I see that as a good fixture. Villa are your side as well, but I also
Yeah.
think Brighton and Boma at home against Bournemouth's good. In your case, Haaland away to Brighton could be good, and Solanke at Ipswich. So why Salah? Because you do have other good options.
Yeah, there's a few. I've had a look at Solanke and Haaland as well, which I'll talk to you in a minute about because you're probably better placed to offer info on that. But Salah, I mean, Villa, as much as we're doing okay, we're not particularly tight at the back.
Okay.
And the way that we play when I actually think the right hand side has been weaker, but Luca Dean, he gets 40 bombs on forward in this current setup. Pau Torres is placed quite high as well as the centre back. He pushes forward a bit more than Konza or Carlos. And I think that Salah at home, I mean, given his current output and the consistency, I just think it's very hard to bet against him. I think he could be my captain this week, and I think he'll probably be my captain at Southampton the week after. Haaland against Brighton, I mean, Foden's traditionally done very well at Brighton, but
I would say, I mean, I thought Foden was a better captaincy shout than Haaland against Bournemouth because Foden has scored 2 against Iriola's Bournemouth, and Haaland once again has blanked. He has scored nothing against an Iriola-managed Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And Bournemouth come out of the blocks. Brighton will do the same. They'll come out of the blocks. They'll be high pressing, high intensity. Man City are stuffed at the moment. They've got no Rodri and they've got lots of injuries. But this Man City, and Haaland's had lots of chances. They'd have got a millimetre here and there, against the post. So I think Haaland is a strong captaincy shout. But I can't rely on him at the moment. I've captained him recently against teams where I thought he would get a haul and he didn't. And so I look at Salah and I think, how many will he score? I look at Haaland and think, will he score? Actually, I like Foden. I like Foden a lot. That's why I've got a picture of him. You can't see it, but I've got a picture of Foden next to your team.
Yeah, I mean, this feels like a fixture which they could maybe do well in, but we're not. We're thinking they could. With Salah, you've got that consistency. We don't know he's going to return, but he's probably going to be involved. We'll see how he looks again in the UCL, but I'm sure it'll be all good. And again with Solanke, I'm really happy to own him. But I'm not just not sure we can trust Spurs this season. I mean, they've been putting up good XG, but they're very kind of, they were. I thought we were good at the first half against Spurs at the weekend. We went up and then we completely fell apart second half. But you just don't really know what you're going to get from Spurs at the moment. You know what I mean? So happy to own captain. Not sure.
Yeah, indeed. So lots of options. Good luck with the game week. Good luck all those watching and listening. We'll be back again next week to see how Tom's team got on and his plans for. We'll be next week. It's international break, I think, coming up soon. Yeah. So, but we'll be back before game week 12 to see what the plans are there. Good luck. Remember that. Press that like button. Remember to subscribe. Take care. See you soon.
Thanks, Joe.